items on our agenda. That is RS 2022-1697. This appropriates $9 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds from Fund 30216 to the Metropolitan Homeless Impact Division of Metro Social Services to build capacity in housing first case management services, including establishing assertive community treatment teams. RS 2022-1698 appropriates $9 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds from Fund 30216 to the Metropolitan Homeless Impact Division of Metro Social Services for temporary interim gap housing. And RS 2022-1699 appropriates $7 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds from Fund 30216 to the Metro Homeless Impact Division of Metro Social Services to establish a low barrier housing collective and to fund competitive grants for support services. The sponsor of all three of these are Sepulveda, Gamble, Parker, and others. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
CM Sepulveda, would you like to?
Yes, so we moved to defer this until the first meeting in October in affordable housing and budget. I know that there were a couple of council members and community members who had questions, so everyone is encouraged to submit any questions they might have to Danielle by the end of this month. So if you all could do that, that would be perfect. I am still in contact with the mayor's office and everyone from the offices to try and figure out a couple of solutions for some immediate problems. So I would just keep an eye out for that because I would really appreciate your support. Just so you all know, we do have a rapid rehousing project in my district. And we've had several incidents there where we had a rape this last week and a shooting, and it's pretty frequent. And so we are having a couple of issues, so just be aware of that. But more information will come at a later date regarding that piece specifically. But I would encourage everyone to reach out with any questions you might have. But with that, I would like to move to defer to the first meeting in October.
Move the deferral to the first meeting of October.
Second. I'd like a quick comment, though. I've been around the everybody knows the one off Charlotte, and there's been deaths. There's been some really serious problems there. So I realize the deferral, but I'd like to have some sense down the road that we really need this money to make a difference, not only in the people's lives that are getting taken advantage of, but just to take care of that place that's been there 15 years. I mean, I saw a guy the other day, and I drive back to the Walmart area every now and then, and the poor guy was probably that skin and bones, and he was just throwing up. And where do you go? There's so many people that need so much help there. It's not just getting the park back, but really getting this help there, because I think there's some serious, very serious needs there. So anyhow, I'm 100% supportive of making some progress as soon as we can, but I understand we got to do it the right way.
Yeah, and hopefully people will feel more comfortable in these next meetings, and hopefully we could have a special call meeting for affordable housing so we could work through some of the legislation and see if there's any amendments that need to be made, absolutely, and work through that. But just so y'all know, we are taking other steps in the meantime to help some of these rapid rehousing projects, especially the one in my district.
Yeah, I would recommend a joint meeting at some point when the time comes for $50 million with affordable housing and all, budget finance. We've done that in the past, and I think there's a huge value there that we can have the mayor's office sort of bring out the strategic plan. But I think that would be, I would make a recommendation to do that when the time comes.
Is it appropriately ask Jay what the plan is until we're able to get this money?
Sure.
Okay. Can you just kind of enlighten us? What are we doing to address some of these urgent situations? Because I know you're doing stuff, but we don't know exactly what it is.
Right, and Stacy is our consultant that we have hired in to help us with that strategic plan piece, and also to help us provide for the immediate need. Some of that $9 million, right, was going to go towards some of that immediate need, where we could look at having some beds to be able to put people into house them to get them ready for permanent supported housing. But what we're doing right now is basically an outreach push, and then calling upon our nonprofits that have the housing navigators and have that housing capability to get streamlined. So we've looked at the CE process, which is the coordinated entry process, the HMIS naturally getting them into the database, which is the database for the homeless information system, and then that gets them into the CE process. We've refreshed that CE process for those that are higher on the vulnerability assessment to get them housed faster in the available units that we have now. That being said, we're way short on units, and I don't think anybody in this room would disagree with that. So the creativity part of that, recruiting, that landlord recruitment or the low barrier housing piece that is at our office is working diligently to recruit those landlords with the incentives that were approved. I don't know if it's by this committee or another one, but those funds are being used to incentivize those those landlords to come in. Do you have anything else to add to that, April?
No, I think instead of saying business as usual, we were headed down a road with the fast push. Hopefully, if some of these funds would have become available pretty fast. We had already started working with some of the nonprofits in conversations for contracts. So, there's a lot of devastation in the community right now, just to be honest. So, we are circling the wagons, just to continue with that push. But some of those things just can't happen without those funds.
And what about the security issues? What are we doing regarding security?
It wasn't just security, it's program management, and security is included in there, and so there is none there. I mean, this was the option that we had, and furthermore, the shelter committee of the HPC had been working on this project, so they're feeling pretty torpedoed as well. I think that we are looking at some ways to work with our partners in existing rapid rehousing dollars to fill in, but this was the most urgent, and
Ginger, just let you do one, and then we'll get to the vote, because we have some committee members.
Sure. So today, we were on, basically, we pulled all the metro departments that are touching this, which are many, together to talk about, with this deferral to October, is there work we can do between now and October, besides just answering all the questions, right? But can we begin to work on basically that next step, which is the contract, if we get the approval, having the contract ready to get to you in October, so when you get this back, you're also voting on the security contract and the nonprofit to do this. That's the work we're gonna be doing between now and October, so that hopefully that shortens the delay. That doesn't really solve your immediate question around security, but at least what we're trying to do is make sure that we don't lose 2 months, right, with winter coming.
And I'm glad to hear that. One of the reasons I bring this up is when we're trying to talk to landlords to participate in these programs, and neighbors that we may be asking at some point in time to change some zoning so we can do things. If they're hearing fearful stories, that's going to be a very hard sell.
There is a trickle down effect.
Right. So I know we need to focus on everything at once, but I do want to make sure that we realize that when we're trying to get friends to participate in this, if they're terrified that there's going to be injury to them or their family, it's going to be impossible to do that. So I just want to bring that.
Yes, so I do want to say quickly, just so y'all know, I did talk to one of the property owners this morning, and April has as well. I know that having MNPD constantly there does bring a concern to many people in the community, including myself. So there's also private security firms that we could look at. But me and Mohammed with the mayor's office are talking to the surrounding businesses, trying to get no trespassing waivers, because it's really a problem in the community itself. There's a lot of human trafficking going on around in that area, so it's not necessarily the property itself all the time. It's the surrounding areas. And I have also made statements to Mike Jameson at the mayor's office to see if we could get street lighting, because it is a very dark street and that might help. So there's other steps that can be taken in the meantime, and figuring out what the security aspect looks like as a whole. It doesn't have to be, a certain way. There's many components to this.
Thank you.
Okay, and I think we need to table that discussion. Just a reminder that if you have more questions, please send them to Danielle in the council office by the end of the month, and they will be answered, and we hopefully will have a document online in SharePoint which will have all the questions categorized so we can very easily find the information. So we have a motion on the floor to defer these three, RS 2022-1697, 1698, and 1699 to the first meeting in October. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? The resolutions are deferred until the first meeting in October. What are we going to do? Okay. The next item on our agenda is RS 2022-1700 by Allen Welsh, Swore and Stiles. This approves a grant from the Greater Nashville Regional Council to the Metro Social Services Commission to provide delivered meals to eligible seniors in their homes and in congregate meal sites throughout Davidson County. I have a letter to approve from CM Allen. Do I have a motion?
Yeah.
Second? Okay. Do we have somebody who would like to speak to this?
Well, good evening. I am Carol Wilson. I'm one of the previous manager of the nutrition program, but since the current manager is on leave, I have Ms. Christiana Patterson that's been with the program. And I'm very pleased. I always say every time I come, thank you. I write the grants for the meals program. Been doing it since 2007. We have served, and I bought some handouts, and just in case if you all wanted to know about the program and the meals. We have two types of meals program, which is the homebound and the congregate. The congregate meals are for Davidson County residents, and they are provided hot meals that is funded through our TRIO funders. They get hot meals 5 days a week. They come down from the various senior high rises and also from 4 of the community centers. The 4 community centers are called Elizabeth, Hadley, and East Park. And they just congregate. We know that if seniors are left in their homes isolated, they tend to, like, I have to say, expire soon. We know that having a socialization activities help them a lot, and they get nutritional meals. We still have to practice social distancing and proper sanitation. So that's with the congregate meals, and the meals are free. They don't have to pay for it. With the homebound meals, they are provided for residents that's 60 years and older, disabled, having lack of support from families, not able to prepare their own meals. So we have 3 van drivers that delivers the meals to the residents in their home, microwavable, very nutritional. So this has been a very valuable asset to our seniors. Nobody missed a meal during the COVID. Everybody got meal that is on our route.
That's awesome.
Extra meals too. Christiana said extra meals. And so we wanted to say thank you for the previous times that this grant has been passed. Hopefully, once again, we're able to provide nutritional meals to our seniors and elderly and disabled. So thank you so much.
Good job, thanks.
Thank you.
How much is the grant for, Carol? How much is the grant for?
The grant is for, I think it was $8,000. I didn't bring that piece, but and don't quote me, but I can get that for you and email it. Who you want me to email? Danielle?
We got it.
You got it?
It's more just
is
a
it
vulgar
this one?
curiosity.
This one?
Yes.
800.
Yeah, 800. Thank you.
With a cash match of about 81,500.
Yes. Thank you.
Any discussion?
If I may, and so this is a fantastic program, it's awesome. And I know that we're focused on seniors with this. I know also with MNPS, recently MNPS announced free meals, right? So for students. My challenge is that I have one particular church in my neighborhood, in my district rather, that has a food drive or rather meal pickup on every other Friday, I believe it is, and the cars are just backed up forever. So my question is that a part of this is that it's First Nazarene Church of Inglewood is that particular one. I don't know if that's a partnership here with that, or if that's a gap between the school program and the seniors, such that is there more need for, I'm sure there is, but is there a need for, in between seniors and school-aged children, that we are meeting, and is there a way for us to tackle that outside of this grant? So I don't mean to get too far out of scope, Chair, but I'm trying to understand, is a program like that just done by the church? Is it in coordination with Metro? Do you know typically? And then on a general basis, and then are we catching folks in between seniors and children?
Well, because I don't have stats on that right now, but I do know with the grant for our population, we only do the elderly and disabled. So, and that's good that the church is doing it. So with that being the entity for the church, it will be a totally separate, I guess, group of population. Yeah. So, and I don't have validity on that, but I know our grant covers the whole perimeter of Davidson County for the seniors and elderly. But it would be something to make sure that our students does not miss a meal. So there might be something, some other entity or.
So in other words, we still have a gap. There's still a need that's in between the two that we
Yes.
need to work to fix. It's cool. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
And we got some money, we can do it.
That's hey, we need to do it. Now I know where there's a gap, so now we can work on
Yes.
fixing it. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Thank you.
Keep up great work with this program.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I think we are ready to take a vote. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? The resolution is approved. The last item on our agenda tonight is RS 2022-1701 by Allen and Welsh. It approves the Second Amendment to an agreement between the Metropolitan Government and Wells Sky Corporation to provide a homeless management information system. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Second? Okay. Do we have somebody who would like to explain?
I can.
Okay.
So Metro Homeless Impact Division carries the database for the HMIS, Homeless Management Information System, for the entire city. We were going through a process of an open bid prior to leadership change and prior to staff turnover. So we put a hard halt, right, on that happening for the entire city. It's a very tedious process, going through the open bid, demonstration round, and then mitigation of our current system. If we choose another vendor, mitigation of the current system into a new system would have taken a lot of staff. So at that point in time, we had 3, we went down to 1. We are now back up. Probably want to celebrate 4 and about to take on our 5th one in our HMIS department. Super excited during a very hard economy, trying to hire staff. Have to get super creative, but we've been able to provide them a lot of training within the last 3 months. They've been to the Wells Skies in-person training. They went to the NHSDC training. I always get the initials wrong. I was looking for some help. Actually, Wells Skies vendor came to Nashville, spent 1 week with them all of last week. I think our system and our level of understanding of the system is much more robust and bigger and better than in previous years. We're also working with a contract vendor that's helping with adding some of the things that we use in-house into the system so that we don't have to create things around the system because our system is robust enough to hold that. So in order to make all of that happen, we thought an 18-month extension. Metro Procurement said they like a 2 full year extension, not half years. So that gives us time to start, for one, to start the implementation or the procurement process for the new bid, and then also allows time for mitigation of data between the two if a new vendor is chosen.
How long have you used the current system?
So Wells Skies, MHED has taken on that probably within the last 3 years. Before that, it lived at MDHA. And I'm not sure when, I know you're not there anymore, so shouldn't lean on your expertise. But
yeah, but I think whenever HUD implemented it, HMIS was that about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And Bowman was the original, and they weren't like wonderful, so there was another.
There was a time that I remember Judy had mentioned that we were going to get a new HMIS, I thought it was a year or 2 ago, that would be a lot more accurate.
That's the exact thing that we put a hard halt on because we had staff turnover and leadership turnover. And it would take a lot of staff internally to go through the bidding process, the demonstration round, on top of mitigating the data when you're bridging the two if we chose a new vendor. So we put a halt on that. And that's why we had to extend the contract just so that we have time to hire new staff, get them properly trained, and start that process again. We will start that process in January, February. There's a lot of large reports that come out early part of the year through HUD. So once we get on the other part of that season, I would say February, March, we're going to start the bidding process again.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Chair. So as I recall, and this is going back a few months, but as I recall, there was a gap in information in that we were hopeful to figure out, or rather to track folks who come in and then leave and come back in and leave. And so there is a tracking concern there that we were missing people in one form or fashion. And I know, Mr. Spade, that you know what I'm talking about there. I forget exactly what that was, but is that a part of the RFP that we're working on to make sure that that gap gets filled in the new software that we have?
The only way we know as a community when someone enters homelessness again is when someone enters them into the system. So part of that gap is getting places like the Mission, very large, largest amount of beds in Nashville, and into the HMIS system. They're on board and they're excited to start that process with us. We're just looking at some like MOU processes and all of that will need to happen beforehand. But in order to track recidivism, they would have to actually go back into the system again.
So it's based on the HMIS, I'm sorry.
No, that's
Sorry,
okay.
Go ahead.
Chair. It was based on the ability to enter into HMIS. So it's our job to start recruiting more nonprofits to be a part of that HMI system so we can actually give you accurate data on if somebody else. So let's say we get them to rapid rehousing and they don't get well and they don't go to permanent supported housing or find permanent housing and they re-enter homelessness, we want to be able to track that so we can pick up those trends, right?
That's exactly what I was
Right,
looking at.
so,
Okay.
okay.
So this, okay.
Yeah, I think, and I remember realizing how important it was to be able to track the trends. Is there anything that, such as facial recognition, not for any negative way, and any, not for any bad reporting, but simply to help keep that going? Because as I understand, names, it's a very difficult place because they have their own names, and sometimes they don't want to use their names, and I don't want it to be intimidating, but at the same time, there's a value.
Yeah. So some systems will have fingerprints. They'll have the
Retina?
retina, and some will have facial recognition. We're looking at an easy process of all of those, even if it's just a scan card or the last four of their social, which I don't really like. In order to get places like the Mission on, they have 700-800 people that stay there a night. That amount of data entry is right. So robust. So what we're trying to do is figure out any of those systems that our community would appreciate and accept. Fingerprints, probably not so much, because sometimes they automatically think that we're going to connect with the police and things like that. So we have an HMIS committee and HMIS oversight committee inside of our Homeless Planning Council, and those are decisions that they're grappling with now.
Thanks.
Any other questions? I think we're ready to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? Thank you so much. This meeting ends our third year on council, and so there will be a new chair of this committee next month. We don't know who that's going to be, and we might all be on different committees next month. We don't know, but thank you all for serving for this year and doing such a great job. We accomplished a lot. Thank you. With that, we're adjourned.